there's been a few changes on CTE recently that's caused a lot of heated discussions. That includes a smoke grenade change that's directly nerfed the thermal scopes pretty damn heavily. Also the shotgun tweaks, which I'm sure we all saw come in a mile away. But let's first focus on the shotguns. According to the patch notes, buckshot and flechette damage has been lowered to obviously lower its performance at range. Also, all semi-auto shotguns except for the QBS had their pellet count reduced. Also, surprisingly, the UTS pump action also had its pellet count lowered as well. And seeing as we don't have any stat details to know exactly what's changed, I thought the next best thing to do is do a few tests comparing CTE to the retail client. But like I said before, we all saw this coming, and I'm sure most of us can agree shotguns do need a few tweaks here and there. So basically what I'm going to do in all these tests is use buckshot shells in the 870 pump action, the UTS pump action, and the M1014 semi-auto. And I'll also use a full choke attachment, which I'm pretty sure majority of the players will select. Also, I want to point out a few things. Even after the spring patch, shotguns can still be somewhat inconsistent. So what I decided to do is average out the 1-shot and 2-shot kill distance. In the first test here, which is me using the 870 MCS while aiming down sight and aiming as close as I can to center mass, which is in a perfect case scenario, but in game if your accuracy is slightly off, obviously the one-hit kill range will be less. But as we can see in retail BF4, I can one-shot the enemy at 22 meters. However, in CTE with the lowered buckshot damage, it's 20 meters, which isn't really a huge reduction. As for its 2-shot capability, still using the 870 MCS, on retail it's 30 meters and on CTE it's 27 meters, so once again not a whole lot of difference. However, this is not the case for the UTS, which remember also got a pellet count reduction on top of the global buckshot damage reduction, so we should see an even bigger difference here. And as we can see, the UTS can one-shot an enemy on retail BF4 at 26 meters, and on CTE it averaged out to 19 meters, so it seems like the UTS has had its pellet count lowered by a pretty decent amount. And as for its 2-shot range, it's 37 meters on retail BF4 and 28 on CTE, which I did expect as its one-hit range was lowered by quite a lot. And finally, what about the semi-auto shotguns? This is where I see a lot of people complain about. And like I said, I'm going to use the M1014. I actually wanted to use the DO12, but for some weird reason I didn't have any attachments unlocked for it on CTE, so I'm not too sure what's up with that. But just like the UTS, remember it also had its pellet count lowered on top of the global buckshot damage reduction. In retail BF4 I can one-shot an enemy at 12 meters, and in CTE it averaged out to around 10 meters. Honestly, I was expecting a bigger difference here. I guess time will tell if people think this is a big enough reduction or not. And as for its 2-shot range, it's 26 meters in retail and 22 meters in CTE. So as we can see, the shotgun tweaks really do affect the semi-autos at range a lot more than close range. I also want to point out, remember the QBS didn't receive any kind of pellet reduction as it's already pretty low on 12. So I assume the rest of the semi-auto shotguns have been changed to 12 pellets as well. But talking about pump actions, the UTS took a pretty big hit to its 1-hit and 2-hit range performance. I'm guessing its pellet count is quite a bit lower than what it is at the moment on retail, and it looks like every other pump action shotgun is mostly the same. The question is though, do you think these tweaks to shotguns are well balanced, or do you think they need even further adjustments? Let me know down below. I don't know if we're going to see even more tweaks in the future, but if they do continue with this trend, it might make slug rounds a really good viable option. But then again, we also have the issue of the damn defensive perks, so that's another topic I hope gets looked at in a team play initiative. But as for shotguns, if anything changes, I'll make sure to let you guys know, and for anyone that might be wondering, I'm assuming these changes will be going into the fall patch. So let's talk about the next hot topic, and most of you may have already seen other videos, but for those who haven't, the smoke grenade is a lot more dense, which has resulted in the FLIR and IRNV thermal scopes not able to see through smoke anymore. To give you guys an example comparing to retail BF4, as we can see on the right side, you can barely even see the player. There's been a lot of discussions on this topic on the CTE subreddit over the past week, and the way I see it, as for positives, first of all, it will stop some of the spam and it should make the smoke grenade seem more of a tactical item to use as cover if you or your squad is being held down. This can be a huge help in rush especially. Also, for people that play on Operation Metro and Locker 24/7, this will more than likely stop all the players that just sit in one place with their thermal scope and spam smoke grenades. As for negatives, I'm thinking it's going to make the thermal scope somewhat useless apart from a few scenarios like the night maps, and not to mention it's rather unrealistic as I'm pretty sure the FLIR is designed to see through the smoke. And I'm sure there's people out there that do use it for tactical reasons in a game of obliteration or something along those lines. However, that's the million-dollar question. What do we prioritize, realism or gameplay in these situations? Yes, I know people will say just throw a couple of flares around the place to counter all the players using this combo. However, that creates an even bigger problem as players on both sides are spamming all kinds of crap all over the place, and before you know it, really no one can see anything and the battlefield starts to resemble some kind of disco. This can be a huge problem in maps like Locker and Metro where visibility can be very minimal as flares and smoke are being spammed all over the place. And like I said, this brings up an even bigger problem in the game. This never used to be an issue in previous Battlefield games as they focused more on actual skill to outthink the enemy in order to gain the upper hand, instead of just attaching the IRNV, throw down a few smoke grenades, lay down an ammo box and rack up huge amount of kills. This is a big reason why so many people say that the game is bloated with so many gadgets and accessories, and in my own opinion, this is why I love the simplistic nature of Bad Company 2. In my mind, less is more when it comes to achieving a good, solid first-person shooter gameplay experience. Another point I want to bring up is, did this nerf happen as a result of maps like Operation Locker and Metro where you'll find a lot of players using the thermal scope and smoke combo? Yes, I know this issue can be a problem in Rush as well, but I can't help but think because of bad map design like Metro and Locker, this nerf is going forward. And I want to ask you guys one question. If Operation Metro and Locker weren't in the game, do you think the thermal scope and smoke combo would be an issue? In my experience, the only times I've had this problem is in those maps and some games of Rush. Apart from that, I very rarely get killed in other Conquest large maps by a player using this method, which is where I spend most of my time. But like I said before, this is just my opinion on the smoke grenade change. I know it's a very controversial topic and not everyone will agree. I've tried to see both sides of the argument here, but I really do think this is better for the game overall. And maybe if this goes into the retail client of BF4 and smoke grenades become the ultimate gadget for providing cover and to counter thermal scopes, maybe what Dxtory can do is reduce how many you actually have, because at the moment you can carry 3 and it's on a fairly low replenish time. But like I said before, at the same time I can't help but think that this change is going forward because it's mainly due to bad map design or simply because the game is being bloated with too many accessories and gadgets. But anyway, that's it for today's video. I would love to read what you guys have to say on the matter. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.